that time once again, the Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. I hope it finds you well. The sun is out. The birds are chirping. It's a hump day. Happy Wednesday to everybody. This is the day we're going to see pigs fly. Monkeys are going to come out of Janet Yellen's rectum. We're going to have unicorns. I mean, it's going to be great. Just ask them. They can't wait to tell you about it. We are hours away. The countdown is on. As Janet Yellen will give a press conference that everybody expects will start the reducing of the Fed's balance sheet. And as I've been explaining to you for the last couple of days, we already have seen it. Many central banks have tried it, and it doesn't work the way they're going to say that it's going to. Never has. Even if it had done it, a few times, you could say, okay, well, see, it does happen. It's never happened, but they're going to try to tell you that it's going to. We got a great show lined up for you. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. Gold rallied last night. It's been up and higher. How about that? It's up 5 right now at 1,312. It's been as high as about $1,316. As I think a lot of people are, the sell-off before the Fed news. We'll wait for the actual news from the press conference to come out. But while all that's going on, real stuff is still happening out there. We've got it all for you today. The website at allamericangold.com. We're going to add some more stuff. We will be, as a matter of fact, we are already there. Johnny Liberty used to, and still does, I think, from time to time, put our podcast up on YouTube. We have created a YouTube channel. Ramon's put up the last couple of days, shows up there already. We're going to get that onto the main page as well, the link to our YouTube channel. Just another way for you to be able to listen to the show. We had some farmers out there that have been asking me and saying, hey, listen, when we're out in the fields, we're out in the combines, or even when we're at our house, it's just easier for us to load up YouTube and listen that way versus going through the podcast and all this other stuff. So we hear you. We're going to do it. We've done it, and then we'll have the link up there. But if you go to YouTube right now and you Google Patriot Radio News Hour, you got to spell the whole thing out. You'll see Johnny Liberty's post and all that, but then you'll see one. If you scroll down, you'll see the one that we've done with our logo on it and all of that. If you want to subscribe to that and get ahead of it, you can. But we'll get it added here, hopefully by next week, to the main site of the web page.
Joe, can we reassure the listeners that you're not actually seen on this page?
I am not.
That's good.
Let me tell you right now, YouTube would probably block it.
Restricted.
Right, because that'd just scare people. It'd be like picture creepy clowns walking around your neighborhood. That would probably get YouTube to ban it. So there will be. We're not there yet, right? We've talked about doing video to go with the audio. But listen, I've got a body and a face that's really made for radio. That's why I'm so good at it. So anyway, coming very soon, and it's here. So you can do it now. It took me a minute, but I found it. I actually subscribed to it. So we're up to 2 subscribers. There's me and Ramon. I've got lots of friends. There's Ramon.
Yep.
Well, there's Ramon. So,
how about Eric?
Yeah. I don't.
Is he a friend?
He's related.
Fair enough.
So you can't really, he's got to be. But anyway, I got Ramon. So I'm up to 1 friend.
How about Wendy over there?
Wendy. Wendy works for me.
Employee
works for me, so those don't count. right? Because they've got to be nice to me. Even when I'm not nice to them, they have to be nice to me. So we'll just stick with you. So, one step at a time. So as we wait for Janet Yellen, we got more economic data out today. Existing home sales came out today, and they want you to believe that it was all about Hurricane Harvey, but we're going to go over those numbers. I'm going to tell you right now it had very little to do with Harvey and a whole lot to do with what is wrong with everything in this country, which is really simple. No one can afford the price points. Walmart came out with their holiday hiring plans, and this one was my favorite. They've been trying, look at what, and I think it was Target. We're going to hire 100,000 people temporarily. And they're just, and it's great. That's great, right? You can hire as many people. You can hire 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 people. If you give them all 4 hours a week, it really doesn't matter. Walmart said today they're not going to be doing large-scale holiday hiring at its stores this year. No, they're not doing that. Instead, they will offer extra hours to its current workers, which really just sums it all up. Walmart's got a lot of employees. Listen, they all work 4, 6, 8, 10 hours. Hey, tell you what, during Christmas, we're going to be good sports. We're going to let you get 20. So Walmart says no big hiring this year. Instead, we'll just let our current employees work more. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll go over all the economic reports next. Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. You know what? Technically, Ramon works for me as well, so I guess he doesn't count either. So I'm back down to no friends, but I was just thinking about that. I'm like, wait a minute. Dang it. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Bed Bath & Beyond came out with retail sales results. Not good. I think their stock right now is down 15 or 16%. The same old chestnut. Hey, we got all these stores nobody shops at. Same-store sales are down. Profits are down. You get the gist. The second largest retail bankruptcy in the history yesterday with Toys R Us. We got another hurricane now, Puerto Rico, which is going to cost us, right? They're already broke. They don't have any money. Venezuela missed their bond payment yesterday. So last night, they had the last night to make I forget how many hundreds of millions of dollar bond interest payment. They did not make it. The earthquake. And this is the second one in Mexico. The one last week, it was like 9 something, but it was pretty remote. This one was 7 and change in Mexico City. 250 at least right now. 250 people dead. I think that number is going to keep rising. What I'm worried about, though, is the path. Right? They do the hurricane cones. Right? Where's it going to go? Like this one, the hurricane that's hitting Puerto Rico right now, they're saying it's supposed to make that right turn and not get us. Let's hope that it doesn't go. Remember, that was supposed to happen to Irma, and it didn't. But hopefully this one won't. If not, look out. I mean, can we handle another one? But these earthquakes, they're getting closer. Right? They're moving. The path is moving closer and closer to California. I thought I saw somewhere where they said L.A. had one. It was a little one, like a 3-point something. But it's just starting to get weird. Right? And people talking about, all these earthquakes like Idaho's been having and those around Yellowstone and the super volcano and all these hurricanes and now the earthquakes. I mean, after a while, it starts to get a little creepy. I don't know what it all means, but I can tell you this, I don't like it. It's starting to make me a little bit jumpy, but despite all of those things, and Janet Yellen getting ready to make her big announcement today, 2 things happened this morning. One had to do with homes. We are on a very, very clear path. And I've been saying this for months now. Existing home sales fell again in August. Yes, Harvey did hit in late August. It did. Houston's home market was already on its keister, and most people don't know that, but it was. But existing home sales fell for the fourth time in 5 months. And the declines are starting to get bigger. In July, they were down 1.3%. In August, home sales down 1.7%. And those are really big numbers. You know, that's the equivalent of saying, hey, a retailer, same-store sales were down, almost double digits. When it gets above 2% down, then it's over double. Then you're like Kmart and Sears. The National Association of Realtors on Wednesday said sales of existing homes last month, and this was seasonally adjusted like they do everything, so my guess is the number was even worse than this, fell to a 5.35 million rate, annualized rate. We are now essentially, home sales are no better this year than they were last year. And we're actually, and the trend is we're getting ready to go even lower, right? So we're going to have another year of year-over-year home sale declines. They keep blaming it on this shortage, right? There's no homes out there. And I will say this, for the first time, they actually gave a little color to the report. Because I've been telling you, there's no inventory problem. There's not. There are plenty of homes for sale over $500,000, over $1 million. Plenty. Matter of fact, just to put it in perspective, talking about what it is that the Federal Reserve is going to try to undo starting today. The widening wealth gap in America. Sales of homes that cost more than $500,000 is up by double digits. There is no inventory problem. Here's where the problem is. Sales of homes that cost under $250,000 have disappeared because there's no homes that are allegedly worth less than $250,000. And I keep trying to get you, really try to understand what's happening. We now live in a country where the vast majority of Americans cannot afford to buy the average home. And you start looking deep into these numbers. You know who's buying the cheap homes? Flippers, right? Investors, Wall Street. They make up about 20% of the entire existing home market. Think about that. It's absolutely nuts. And that was bad, right? That was not a number. And economists, I don't know who these economists are. They were actually looking for home sales to be up a couple of tenths. Instead, it was down 1.7%, and of course, trying to say Harvey probably had a little bit of an effect. But I saw someone, Houston sales down 25%. Well, Houston home sales were down 20% in July. And there was no hurricane then. Right? And that's just kind of what the market is. The other thing, and now remember, they're getting ready for their big announcement today. Matter of fact, I went back to the last 16 months of home sales. There's no change. We are not selling more homes. It's not happening. Matter of fact, we're in a pattern now where the decreases are outnumbering the increases. And you again, I only pointed out for one reason. This is the fourth month out of 5. And I told you the second quarter GDP number is a joke. We didn't grow 3%. It didn't happen. I want it to happen, but it didn't. Of course, and we talked about car sales, right? And remember, according to Janet Yellen and the Federal Reserve and the government, car sales were great in May, in June, and July. Initially reported by the Census Department, motor vehicle sales rose 1.2% in July and 0.9% in June. To give some color to that, to give you a feel for that. The 1.2% rise in auto sales that they said happened in July, the 0.9% that they said happened in June, that would add about 0.5% to GDP. So if you just said June, 0.9% increase, if that 0.9% increase was a 0.9% decrease, that would have taken the 3% GDP number down into the low, probably about 2.2. Then you throw home sale numbers in there, right? And again, down 4 out of 5. And you've really got a real economy that's exactly where it's been, which is below 2%. Now, here's what makes it bizarre, is that the actual auto sales reported by the automobile companies says that it's been horrible. The Census Bureau, right, that's the Census Department is the one that provides this number. Revised sales estimates much lower in September. Right? I told you they just weren't going to go back and fix it. They should, but they won't. Reporting sales with a huge negative revision. Ford today, well, actually it was last night. Remember now, Janet Yellen's going to give her speech here in a few hours. Said it plans to idle 5 North American vehicle assembly plants for a total of 10 weeks to reduce inventories of slow-selling models. So now we know they shut these plants down for weeks and weeks over the summer. Now Ford said, hey, we're going to shut them down for 10 more weeks. 3 of the 5 plants are right here in the United States. The models include the Ford Fusion, the Lincoln MKZ, the Ford Focus, the Lincoln Continental, the Ford Mustang, the Ford Fiesta. Am I missing? Oh, wait, and their transit van. Said the factories involved employ more than 15,000 people. Ford has a 111-day supply of Mustangs, 162 days of Lincoln Continentals. By the way, a normal inventory period amount is about 65 days. So they announced last night that they're going to idle 5 plants for 10 weeks to try to get sales in line. And of course, that just means what? General Motors is coming next. Chrysler's coming next. And you have this whole thing of, wait a minute. Let's really look at what's happening. Okay? Because like I said in the beginning, right, we're going to have pigs flying, right? We're going to have unicorns, and Janet Yellen's going to come out and she's going to lie to all of us. And I mean lie. And I don't like to say that, but that's just what it is. This whole recovery it's really just been a big cover-up. Right? And really, when you really look at what they did, they bailed themselves out because we had a debt problem. They bailed themselves out The Federal Reserve wiped out, devastated every baby boomer in the country. Just devastated them. And what I mean by that, they put you all at risk, right? Most of you should be out there, having bank CDs, right? Maybe you got some bonds. You hopefully you've got your insurance, right? Your long-term care insurance, and maybe some other type of whole life policies or something to that effect. And instead, you're getting nothing for those things. And now she's going to come out today and say, now that we fixed it. Okay, now remember, here's what she's fixed. We've had home sales down 4 out of the last 5 months. Matter of fact, now home sales getting ready to go negative, right? We're not selling any more homes than we were last year. We're going to sell less. Automobile sales, way less. So there's no way possible that we've got this great GDP growth. You can't have it with automobiles and home sales being down. You just can't overcome it. They're too big of a price tag. What does it all mean, and what's really going to happen? We're going to talk about that next.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily commentary continuing the Crow family legacy of Phyllis Schlafly. Now from the Phyllis Schlafly Center studios, here's Ryan Haidt.
Phyllis Schlafly's flagship publication, the Phyllis Schlafly Report, has been right on the issues for 50 years, and the strategies Phyllis used 30, 40, or even 50 years ago are still relevant today. In her May 1987 Phyllis Schlafly Report, Phyllis chose to remind her readers of a then 164-year-old policy. Just as it was in 1823, the Monroe Doctrine was a strong statement that reflects the values held by real Americans, both in 1987 and today. President James Monroe established this policy in his December 2, 1823 address to Congress, in which he stated, "The political system of the Allied powers is essentially different from that of America. We should consider any attempt on their part to extend their system to any portion of this hemisphere as dangerous to our peace and safety." Essentially, its purpose was to inform European powers that they shouldn't interfere with the affairs of the United States or any other American country. Likewise, it promised to refrain from interfering in the affairs of the European powers. The Monroe Doctrine quickly became the bedrock of American foreign policy. This doctrine still reflects the will of the American people. However, it has taken on a slightly different name. What was once called the Monroe Doctrine is now commonly called America First. Donald Trump didn't invent America First. Not even Phyllis Schlafly invented America First. However, what made their policy positions so unique is that they tapped into that sweet spot where public opinion and common sense collide. Americans were tired of apology tours and bad trade deals when they voted for Donald J. Trump last November. They want America to be for Americans. National sovereignty is one of the defining issues of our time and of the Trump presidency. We must stand beside him and lift high the public sentiment that we want America to put America first. President James Monroe may have been the first to vocalize this doctrine, but it's up to us to preserve it, ensuring that this doctrine for all seasons truly does live forever, so we can preserve our union for generations to come.
2017 marks 50 years of the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, mailed, broadcast, and posted online to millions of Americans eager to follow her traditional conservative perspective. We continue that legacy at phyllisschlafly.com, archiving the past, addressing today's key issues, and staying alert for the future. So bookmark phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
He was backwards, use words.
Welcome back. Patriot Radio News Hour. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. We were running Saints I'm out of the Saints at 1345. I do have some $20 liberties, 1866 to 1907. When you're talking about gold and what type do you want to have, for us, the answer is simple. I want the most gold where I can be the most private. Right? I can buy it, sell it, trade it. I don't have to worry about 1099. If the government confiscates it, I've got at least a chance at maybe being able to keep mine. And that's in the older Liberty and St. Gaudens market and staying at the low end where we've told every one of you to build your portfolios, U.S. $20 Liberties. These are the older of the group, the 1866 to 1907. They're at 1350. Now, if the bottom is in, and like I said, gold fell Friday and Monday, right, because of the big speech, and then yesterday it kind of didn't follow through, and now today, of course, gold is higher because when you actually start looking at what's real, you're like, uh-oh, this doesn't look good. Right? I mean, really, put all the BS aside, okay? Forget about hurricanes, forget about wars and missiles and missed bond payments, right? Set all that stuff aside. Forget about all the pension problems that we have and debt limits and the Congress and repeal and replace and all of these others. Set all that stuff aside. If that wasn't bad enough. And let's just look at what is real. Answers are very, very simple. Walmart really spelled it out about the American worker. We're not hiring any extra help for that. Really? That's what they said. No, we're not going on any big hiring spree. We're just going to allow the employees we already got to work more. Right? And this is the new economy. Right? People have jobs, but they don't pay any money because they don't get any hours. And they call this prosperity. What, Janet Yellen doesn't know this? Is she the only person in the face of the planet that doesn't know it? And they go out, every time I turn on the TV, I can't even watch it anymore because they just regurgitate the same bull. Oh, look how strong the jobs market is. It's so strong that Walmart doesn't even need to hire anybody for Christmas. Because they got, I think, how many extra employees do they really got? But every store's got like a couple hundred people working, less than 10 or 15 hours a week. And the answer is yes. And then you look at home sales, right? Look at the prices. It's ridiculous. How can home prices have gone from when I bought mine back to 2000? I tell this story to you all the time, and the reason I tell it to you is because it's the easiest example. The first home my wife and I ever bought was $130,000, like 1,700 square feet, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath starter home. Americans, even with they just changed the terminology. Remember, we did the report. It just came out last week. Hey, we're finally making more than we did in 1999. Of course, I told you, no, we're not. They just changed the way they did the formula. That's what happened. Kind of like when credit scores all went up. They just changed the formula. If you go back to where it used to be, right? I say this about jobs all the time. If you go back the way we calculated unemployment in the 80s, the unemployment rate right now is about 9%. And Janet Yellen's getting ready to go on TV today to tell you how they fixed it. Right? Nobody sees the bubble. You don't see the bubble? You don't see it? A new home, average new home, which that was an average new home I bought in 2000. The average new home today is $350,000. 50. Come on. Wait, we're not making any more. Let's just go. I'll give them a break. We're making the same amount of money as we did 17 years ago. I mean, that's about the best case scenario they can paint. And yet, home prices went from 132 to 3 and change. Does that sound logical to anybody? Does that make sense to any one of you? Automobile sales are down by over 1 million units. Ford today said, hey, we're closing 5 plants for 10 more weeks because nobody's buying them. And they're going to tell you today that they fixed it. You know, the funny thing is, as they get ready to do their balance sheet reduction, I did this yesterday. This has been done before. Matter of fact, lots of times. And all these morons and idiots that are out on the television telling you how this is going to be great and it's going to work out just fine, either don't know anything about anything, which is, listen, it is actually very possible. Hey, I'm just going to spit out whatever it is the Federal Reserve's telling me. And they're saying it's going to be great. So I'm going to tell you it's going to be great. Or they're lying, one or the other. Because every single attempt that has been made to reduce balance sheets of the central banks has resulted in recession every time. I mean, that's a great track record. You know, you're sitting there and think about going to Vegas, right? You want to bet the football game, right? We're going to bet on the Broncos. Give me the Broncos, and I'll give them the touchdown. I'll give them the 7 points. Wouldn't it be great if you said, like, look, the Cardinals play the Cowboys on Monday night television this week, this Monday. If somebody was able to say, hey, every time the Cardinals play the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, and let's just say it's happening, 10 times, every single time the Cardinals have covered the spread, you'd feel pretty good about betting on the Cardinals. This is what's happening today. But Janet Yellen's going to tell you that it's going to go the other way this time. The only difference is this isn't some bet you're making with your buddies or placing $10 on Vegas. This is the American economy we're talking about. Think about when you're getting ready to hear the load of bull that you're going to hear the bovine specialist Janet Yellen say today. When was the last time you remember where home prices were at all-time highs but sales were falling? Car sales were falling. Defaults were rising. Okay, and remember the article we did about, and this was state of New York. I'm still digging into this, where they're trying to hide the defaults. And I'll give you a personal story. And Scouts honor, even though I got thrown out of the Boy Scouts for beating up the den mother's son, but that's a different story. I was only like 8, and beating up is a relative term. The other day, my younger son, who's a freshman in high school, I had to take him and his friend home from practice. His friend lives one street over, so just go around the block to the next street. I don't go around the block to the next street because I live on the street I live on. As I'm dropping him off, I turn the corner, go down the street, and there I see it. not one, but two bank-owned for sale signs. They're back. And then you read what New York has been doing about how they're trying to hide how many mortgages are 180 days or more past due. But when was the last time stocks were at all-time highs, housing sales were falling, but prices were at all-time highs, car sales were falling, defaults were rising? Right now, mortgage defaults are rising, credit card defaults are rising, automobile defaults are rising. Oh, by the way, you can also throw in, how about, and a major hurricane. Right? Remember the last crash, right? What Katrina hit in 2005. Here, the market was over. Ben Bernanke was telling us in August of what was it? I think it was August of 2006 that they were going to raise rates again. And that there was just some froth, and it was just a subprime problem. Right? I mean, hello? Now, Janet Yellen's going to come out today to tell us that it's all fixed, all clear. Look at stocks are at all-time highs. Look at the jobs market's great. Right? Job market was great in 2005, 2006. At least they said it was. Right? Everybody was a realtor, and they were a mortgage broker, or they were a house flipper. And it's all back. And she's going to come out, and you know what? Doesn't matter. They don't use actual numbers. I tell you that all the time. Look at what Ford just announced. How bad sales are. We got to shut 5 plants for 10 weeks. And that may not be enough. Yet they tell you, well, up until September, the auto sales were cranking. But they weren't. Right? Look at today. The Dow's still up 20 points today. Home sales down 1.7%. Mortgage applications, this is a weekly number, down 9.8, almost 10%. Now, yes, does the hurricanes have an impact on? Yes. But this is the trend. It's going down. It's been going down. It's just speeding up the pace. And you sit there and I'm bewildered. And they'll talk about, there's no bubble here. Right? And they'll tell you all the reasons why it isn't. None of them have to do with anything in any sort of fact. The jobs market, we know all about the jobs market. I've left that jobs blog up there for a reason. I want you to see it. Then I want you to think about how could it be the largest, and it's, at least as far as I know, they're still the largest retailer in the world, can come out today and say to everybody, we're not hiring anybody for Christmas. We got plenty of people. We'll just let them actually work a couple more days a week. Right? Instead of 10 hours, we're going to give them 20. We're good. This is it. Right? And then you sit there and you got to listen to them tell you, we've got an inventory problem. No, you don't. There's plenty of houses out there. They just want $500,000 or more for all of them. That's the problem. Home sales will not go up again until the prices start falling, period. Why? Because over 75% of the country makes less than $50,000. And if you make less than $50,000, you can't buy a house for $500,000. I know, I only went to public school. But that's how the real math works. And now they're going to do something. This is how dumb they are. Right? And dumb's the wrong word. They are such believers in their economic theories, even when the reality says otherwise. They still want to believe their theory, and her theory today is we're going to reduce the balance sheet, and for the first time in central bank history, we won't be in a recession. The problem is we may already be in one. We just haven't admitted it yet. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. Final segment on a Wednesday. You know, the funny thing was, that was the start of gold's run. You know, as gold was going through its runs, it got to 1,050, fell back to 700, and was on its way all the way up to 1,900 after essentially the Federal Reserve was full again. We didn't see a bubble. I don't see it. Ben Bernanke didn't see it. We're going to raise rates. Subprime problem. Right? Now Janet Yellen's going to come out and, I don't know, give some fantasy story about inflation and jobs. Right? Even though the actual data doesn't support anything she's going to say today. Housing sales falling. Prices are just too damn high, but they don't see that. Now, instead they see an inventory problem. Prices, sales of homes of over $500,000 are up double digits. Plenty of inventory. Problem is, not plenty of people that can afford a home that's more than $500,000. Right? And you know what the answer is. You know. We all know. Stock prices at all-time highs. Right? I don't even know. What would it take for it to go down right now? Right? I mean, home sales in the crapper. Ford shutting 5 plants. Right? Another huge hurricane hits Puerto Rico after Florida got hit. Houston got hit. Earthquakes in Mexico. North Korea lobbing missiles. Right? All of that stuff. Right? That's just stuff. Right? Let's get rid of the debt ceiling. Yeah, that's a great idea. The debt just rolled over $20 trillion. Every single week, another state comes out and says, oh, yeah, we got a pension problem. I told you about what's going on. Wait till I tell you about Illinois tomorrow. It's almost comedy now. And now you've got retail sales are down. Home sales are down. Car sales are down. And they're going to tell you they fixed it and how great things are. Or you call 800-951-0592 and buy some $20 Liberties at $13.50. A quick look here at the market. Gold's up 6, $13.12.50. Silver, it's up 9 cents, $17.29. The Dow's up 23 points. The Nasdaq's down a little bit. The S&P's up 1. And Janet Yellen is roughly about 2 hours and change away from giving you a story that's going to be very different from the one I just told. The only problem is only one of us is telling the story. I'm just giving you what the numbers are, what the facts are. She's going to give you a story about, Rip Van Winkle fell asleep for 40 years and can't see anything. Right? What was it? She's Peter Pan. She's Tinkerbell, right? With her pixie dust. And she's the mythical unicorn. If we're only ifs and buts and candies and nuts, or however that expression goes, right? Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. Can't wait to see what the reaction's going to be afterwards. We'll talk about that.